I've had this thought for over a decade. I've shared it with other people who've parroted it back to me, but I know I had never heard anyone say this before. And it was only after I shared it with one person that I started hearing my exact same verbiage. But this is the story of Eve. I'm into Shakespeare, so I'm going to read some passages from the King James Version to prove my point, okay? So, I'm in chapter 3. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden God hath said, Ye shall not eat it. Now, the setting is that Eve is in the garden frolicking by herself. She's in the garden exploring. She's in the garden being a scientist. There's a very good chance that they possibly had not even yet consummated their marriage. And the reason that I say this from my reading and interpretation of the Bible, this is a perfect woman. Who's more fertile than her? And yet her children she didn't conceive children until after the fall from grace. And the reason why the setting, her frolicking in the garden, her playing around, Adam was nowhere to be found, which is why the serpent was able to approach her as the younger of the two humans, as the least experienced of the two humans, which is why the serpent likely chose her to begin with, her lack of maturity. He was able to approach her alone because she was not stuck up underneath Adam. She really wasn't even pressed in her perfect state. It was only after the fall from grace where she's cursed. And from there, and now I'm in 16, Genesis 3:16, it says, Unto the woman, he said, and this is God, unto the woman, he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. In a modern version of the Bible, it says that Eve's craving would now be for her husband, and he would dominate her. And that was, from the biblical perspective, that was a part of the curse that she experienced when she stepped outside of God's will for her life. Now, even though this is not a religious channel, I do find it very interesting that in her perfect state, she wasn't thinking about him. She was so gone and so off to herself and just living life and having fun that they hadn't even conceived children yet. And so I think that when a woman is balanced and in her, even though we're imperfect, when she is close to perfection as possible, she does not have to seek the validation of men to feel complete and or whole. Do we like compliments? Do we like free things? Of course we do. Should our confidence and self-esteem be built on those things? No. And so when I think about it from this standpoint, whatever a woman needs to do to bring balance to her life, she will not need or crave the validation and attention from men. Well, she can still enjoy it because Eve no doubt loved Adam. He was important to her. And not that Eve is the quintessential role model, but homegirl in her perfect state kind of was like she was pretty interesting. And I think for me in my life, I've never referred to it as decentering men. And although this is not a religious channel, I do know for a certainty that there were a couple things in my life that set me up not to crave men, not to seek validation from men. The first one was just a blessing. I happen to have a very active father who wanted me and doted on me and made me feel very special. So, right away, when I'm interacting with anybody, but particularly men who are not talking to me the right tone, who don't seem to have the right energy about themselves, that is so foreign to me for how I grew up that I'm automatically turned off and want him to hurry up and get away from me. There's never been a man in my life who I liked more than I liked myself, or valued more than I valued being spoken to and treated correctly. And that is just a byproduct of being really, really fortunate. And that's another reason I don't knock women who lean towards being more free with themselves, because I don't know who I would be or what I would be like if I did not have my daddy. And so I don't judge women for any reason when it comes to how they carry on their love lives. Now, I will judge her for having a bad attitude and bad character and being low down and dirty when it comes to how she treats people. But as far as like negative terms towards women who are living their lives the best that they can, I'm just not that girl, because I'm so aware of how fortunate I was to have a father who really, really set me up to feel whole. This is a part one. Thanks for listening.